Hello everyone, this is Daniel and welcome back to the 17th part of this character creation tutorial series. Now it has been a week since I recorded the last part in this series, so I hope that I won't be forgetting about anything that I thought of last week. But with that said, let's dive right into it. We're quite far into this project, so I'm pretty happy with what we have created so far. And we just have a little bit of work to do, and actually very soon we'll dive right into retopology and getting this character game ready. You could really go into more detail and add, a bunch of mechanical stuff, but I've actually decided to do a bunch of that in texturing. So you'll also see me do that very soon. But all in all, it's just going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to turn out very nicely. So today I just want to quickly look into the hair, because we haven't really spent too much time on it. And yeah, you might have heard it, but there's not really a lot of tricks that make hair easy, so it's just a tough part to work with, and we'll try today to just figure it out a little bit. So let's see, the first thing that I want to do is hover your mouse over it, press L and then press P to separate the selection to a separate object. I'm just doing that so that I don't accidentally interfere with other parts. Now I'm looking at my reference here, and I also have this. We won't be doing the entire hair, that's even more challenging, so we're just going to focus today on, getting the hair strands that are kind of sticking out here sort of right. So let's see. First thing I want to do is let's get rid of all the things we filled in here. Let's do vertex selection instead, that works better. I'm just selecting all the inside points and then we delete them. You might have to go in and delete these edges here. Edges only. And let's just go ahead and delete this back side as well, so that we're just left with this one contour. For now, I will also turn off the subdivision surface modifier so that we don't get distracted by anything. Now one idea here, this is going to make it a lot easier for you, I believe. Let's just move this forward a little bit and we flatten it out. So I press S for scale and then Y to constrain it along the Y-axis, and then I hit 0. This will just make it flat, basically. And now the reason why I do it is simply so that I can focus on it, and it's I see the curves a lot better. Now I'll quickly isolate it, and in edit mode we can now take a look at the curves and try to improve them a little bit. For example, I'll select this one and hit relax, and you see how much better it could have been just by doing that. I'll select a couple of them, and I like the contours of that already a lot better. Now of course it's not very detailed just yet, and let me actually think about how I want to approach it quickly. So basically with hair, hair has kind of this profile of like this triangular profile. I'm thinking of this usually as the base, and then from the tip I'm sort of extruding its spine. So the next thing I do is basically use these lines to indicate sort of the flow of that particular strand. And I'm going to quickly try to put them into place here and see if I can find anything interesting. Now ideally I don't want them to all just run in parallel. I do want them to kind of come together at some point, but we have to be careful to make it look natural and not sort of forced. So let's merge them quickly. So I hit M and hit merge at center, and beyond that I'm just going to maybe put them like this. Sort of this shape looks alright. When you try to copy this, look a lot at the angles and try to understand how this is constructed and like how you can make it look cool. So trying to look at the angles, trying to find something good looking here. Now while we're at it, I also do want to subdivide these at places that are convenient. So of course, since we have a point here, we must have like points everywhere on roughly this height. So I'm just going to leave them in here like this for now, and we'll likely need something here as well and here as well. So that's just rough placing of these points. Moving on, I believe this this line is going to be separate now. Clearly a different strand. Let's see. Yeah, that should be fine. So I'm also going to line it up here as far as I can with these points over here, just so that we won't have any issues connecting them later. And finally over here, I think I'll try to bring these two together if possible. So let's give it a shot. If possible, I'd like them to join here, but we have to find a way to make it look smooth. Something like this, possibly. Let's try to relax these curves a little bit. I do want this to be a bit more curved without making this look too thin. I can actually move these further in, possibly. There we go. And similarly over here. Let's smooth them a little bit. And that looks all good now. Now I think the last thing we need to do is to fill in these edges in between. So I'm going to extrude these up, and of course they need to sort of join in these points here where possible. And finally over here, they won't need to join, but we'll make them follow along, sort of like this. Similarly over here. I'm going to try to make sure that these points line up in some way as well, just so that the connection of it will be smooth later on. And then once again I just extrude these. So I haven't lined these up correctly, I find out now. I should have maybe thought about that earlier a bit, but that's okay. I'll try to... Although I think these might line up better up here, so we might just go for something like this instead. Now it doesn't need to be perfectly flat, so you can of course make it go down a little bit and up a little bit. But I think the main point is that we need subdivisions here. That should make it look good again. We can relax a couple of curves here very quickly to just make sure that it all will connect very smoothly. And then let's just finish this up with a couple of more points. Now at this point we just need to basically connect it all, which is pretty simple. You just go in here, hit F a couple of times. First you make a face, and then usually you can just hit F a few more times and it will connect automatically. So that's quite straightforward. You'll usually end up with a triangle and these spots here, but that's totally fine for now. So if this F trick doesn't work, you just select all the points, and so like here it doesn't know which one to connect with, so you have to do it manually, but from here on you can just select 2 points and hit F. So There we go. Now finally, I just want to try and do my best to sort of smooth out all the lines. They don't need to be straight, as I mentioned, but I can try to make it a bit more regular actually. Here I believe it won't be too bad actually if I try to make them straight. They don't really need to like here I don't want to make it straight because that would end up like lining up these 2 points, and it's nice that they have like a little bit of a variation to them, but I will try to make them at least curve a bit smoother if possible, like this. And now that we're done in this way, let's just try to clean up a little bit some of the other directions. We can try to do this in one go maybe. Now this will be a bit tricky here. Let's see. Alright, I would say let's give it a try. So that didn't work quite well. I think we can't connect it here for now. Why is it shrinking though? Well, I didn't expect that behavior, but let's just maybe go in and do it one at a time. I mean, you can also do these things manually, honestly. It doesn't need to be super perfect. But I kind of like this feature. So if I can, I try to use it. But, you know, it looks mostly smooth now. Let's just flatten these out again. At this point, it's just you know, a matter of optimization, trying to clean up things. We actually can leave this one a little bit curved, since that helps us transition to the curved arch at the bottom. So I'm just going to emphasize that a little bit instead of flattening it out. So all in all, I think it looks quite smooth now. But of course, it's still flat. So, by the way, one thing I want to do is quickly hit Shift-N to recalculate the normals. I'm pretty sure there were some artifacts, so that just checks that off our list. Now we need to add depth to this, and sorry, this video is getting a bit long, I realize, but yeah, can't really skip a lot of steps here. Now, if you go up from the tips, you'll get this point, and this point here. This will need to be fairly high up, so I'm just going to give them a little bit of a, you know, offset now. And everything in between these points will now have to sort of, yeah, kind of interpolate in between. Now here we have a bunch of points. These go also quite high up. I'm just going to do them all kind of at a similar height now, and we'll refine them a little bit later. So let's select the next batch. There we go. Now, of course, I can't select this point anymore because this one is supposed to be like low as it is, basically. And here we go. Now it's time for us to correct it a little bit. For example, this one should probably get thinner a bit sooner, since it's quite a short strand, and of course in here this is even shorter. So can go like this possibly. There's even a bit more to play with. And then in here it's kind of the opposite. In here we can go up a little bit, because, you know, as we go in with the hair, sort of. Actually, as for this one, I'm just going to make it a little bit taller, since it's in the center, and, you know, there is a bit more hair volume there. So now I can use this view to kind of smoothen it out, but that's only for the beginning. From here on, it's going to be more about transitioning this to the rest. Something like this. Maybe we push these in a bit further. Alright, and finally I think I'll just go in again and relax these a little bit, because at this point I actually don't like doing that anymore, because it's going to mess with our lines again, but it doesn't really matter. It's just it feels good to make these straight. I think that's the only thing. But there you go. I think almost. Do we need to fix something here? I mean, it looks quite okay. Definitely looks a lot better than before. I'm just thinking that this here looks a little bit boring, but doesn't seem like we can do much about it actually. So let's just look at this point here. This is obviously wrong. Okay, here I made a mistake, I believe. I moved it up, whereas it should be down here. So what I do is I go to my snapping tools, change this to vertex, and activate the snapping tool. And now if I hit G and then Y to constrain it, I can snap it to this point. And then I just set my settings back to what they were, just to be sure. And so now this is a lot better. Yeah. So now it's basically ready. You can try smoothing it or not. Actually, what I'm going to do here is go to the object data properties and to normals and hit auto smooth. Then shade it smooth. And then I'm going to select all these sharper edges. Maybe we don't need these. And then I hit Control E and hit Mark Sharp. And that should do the trick. Yeah, and this one we can now set something high, like 180, because I don't want it to do it automatically. And we can try to play around with this, maybe make all of them sharp. Actually, I think this will look better. So yeah, this is a way to just improve the shading a little bit of the hair. And finally, to end this video, we have to fit this to the head. Actually, let me just fix a few more points here that I didn't quite touch yet. Here are a few more lines. So this looks even better now. Alright, now last step is to fit this to the head. So I'm going to unhide all the other objects one more time. And in edit mode, I'll start to bring it close here. Now let's see, what's a good way to do this? Let's see if I can actually do this right away. Or I think it might take me a couple of tries to find the right setting. But I'll go to the modifier and add where is it? Simple deform modifier. And now I just hope that I get it right. So there's a couple of different ways we could do this. First of all, let's hit Control A and hit rotate and scale. So I'm going to apply all the transformation for rotation at scale, just to be sure that there's no weird stretching going on. And then I'm going to look at the different axes, and of course we want not twist, but we want bend. So let's hit bend, and apparently we want to use the X axis. So I'm going to hit X, and then one more thing we might want to do is I think we need to give me a second to try it. Yeah, I think we need to move it closer to the origin, because the origin is eventually what's going to be used as the sort of the bend radius, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm not super certain about this, but yeah, it seems to be the case here. I don't use this modifier like all the time, so it can be sometimes a bit tricky to remember the details of this, but yeah, with this setting you should be able to bend it very smoothly, and I'm just going to try to line it up with my art in the background, and that looks actually pretty good. From here on, you can actually just go ahead and scale it a little bit. I'm just going to delete the subdivision surface modifier for a moment. And finally, if you haven't applied the rotation after rotating it now, we should be able to hit S and then Y twice to also edit the scale. Oh no, actually in edit mode. In edit mode, S and then Y twice, and then with this you can actually also adjust sort of the thickness of your strands. I think I made it a bit too thin, so I'm going to scale it up a little bit like this to give it a bit more volume from the side. And then finally, yeah, just positioning it to a good spot. Something like here will be good, I believe. Yeah, and that's going to be the basic workflow for this this process. Since the rest of the hair is going to be basically the same approach, I will now stop to talk about this. I'll end this video here and continue to record myself doing the rest, and I still haven't decided, or I'll have to decide when I edit this video what I'm going to do with it, but I think I'll do it as a time lapse. And if there's anything important, of course, I'll mention it. But basically, it's the same workflow, so I think it should be good that way. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. I hope you enjoyed and that you didn't have any difficulty following along. And I will see you next time.